had just completed my first year in college, and it was rough. I had chosen a challenging major, and the coursework had proved difficult, so I was concerned the coming semester would be even harder. It was because of this that I elected to stay in the dorms during winter break, something that almost no other student at my college ever chose to do. I really didn't want to waste the money on a flight home, but the main reason I chose to stay was to get a jump start on studying for the coming semester. The building gets creepy over break, my roommate had warned, shoving clothes into her suitcase with hurried efficiency. People who've stayed say weird things happen when the dorm is empty. I wouldn't do it. I had laughed. There's 24-hour security. What's the worst that could happen? She had only shaken her head. Suit yourself. Just don't ignore anything strange. The winter wind howled outside, rattling the century-old windows of my dormitory like spectral fingers scratching at the glass. The heating system groaned in protest, struggling against the bitter cold that seeped through every crack. I curled beneath my blanket, my laptop's glow casting eerie shadows across the walls. It was only my second night alone in the building, yet the oppressive silence made it feel like I had been here much longer. My decision to stay behind for break, once so logical, now felt like a terrible mistake. As I lay in bed, that warning echoed in my mind. The silence was too empty, as if the building itself were holding its breath, waiting for something. The long hallways stretched like abandoned catacombs, each door a lifeless portal leading nowhere. The few remaining students were scattered across other floors, their presence felt only in the occasional flicker of light from distant windows. I had checked earlier. No one else was on my floor, and by the third day, I was the only one in the whole building. When I walked to the communal kitchen, my footsteps reverberated unnaturally, a hollow sound swallowed too quickly by the stillness. I had never noticed the leak in the shower before, but now it was distracting, each drop plinking into the drain like a ticking clock. It was like the whole nature of time itself had changed into something different. Then at midnight, I heard it. The elevator. I checked the time. It was 12:03 a.m. Who else would be using the elevator at this hour? I froze, my fingers hovering over my laptop keyboard. I listened as the elevator moved steadily up and down, pausing on each floor like a mechanical specter searching for something or someone. Now it was on my floor. I slipped out of bed, my breath shallow as I tiptoed to the door. I opened it and peered down the dimly lit hall. The elevator doors stood open at the far end, gaping like the mouth of something waiting to be fed. But nothing else was there. I waited. 1 minute. 2. The doors remained open, as though reluctant to close, before finally sliding shut with a hushed finality. Yet the elevator didn't descend. It lingered silent just beyond my door. I gave up waiting and went back to bed. An hour later, it finally returned to the lobby. The next night, I drowned my nerves in videos, keeping the volume high to mask the stillness around me. But when the now familiar chime of the elevator echoed through the empty halls, my stomach clenched. Then there was a new sound, Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, drawing closer to my door. Each step was measured, as if whoever was outside knew I was listening. Then the knob jiggled. A slow, careful twist, as if someone was testing the lock, gauging its resistance. The silence of the empty dormitory made the sound unbearable, magnified it until it was all I could hear. My pulse hammered in my ears as I reached for my phone, but as I shifted, the futon beneath me let out a loud, traitorous creak. The movement outside stopped instantly. A long, agonizing beat of silence. Then rapid footsteps retreated down the hall, fading into the distance. I stayed frozen for several minutes before I forced myself to move, my hands shaking as I texted my roommate and Tina, our RA. Tina promised to check with security. I waited for answers, staring at the door as if it might open at any second. When Tina finally responded, the explanation made no sense. No new check-ins had been logged. The only plausible theory was that a new student had been mistakenly assigned my room number. But that didn't explain why they hadn't knocked or announced themselves. Later that night, security confirmed my worst fear. No keycard scans had been recorded. Whoever had stood outside my door had not entered through normal means. On the fourth night, I didn't sleep. My phone remained clutched in my damp palm, my body stiff with exhaustion and unease. Hours dragged by, each one bringing me closer to an inevitable, horrifying possibility. What if they came back? At 3 a.m., they did. I got out of bed and hid in a corner behind a dresser. Then the worst sound I had ever heard. A key card beeped. The handle turned. A sharp, metallic tang filled my mouth as I bit down on my lip to keep from screaming. I couldn't see the door directly from where I was, but my gaze turned to the microwave on my desk, its black reflective surface capturing the faintest glimpse of movement. A tall shadow, motionless in the doorway. They weren't moving, just standing there. A primal terror coursed through me, raw and electric. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion over room assignments. My fingers fumbled through a pile of clothes, looking for anything to use as a weapon. I felt something metal like a can. It was an air horn I had brought to a school basketball game a few weeks ago. Before I could hesitate, I pressed down. A deafening blast shattered the silence. The shadow jerked violently with surprise before vanishing into the hall. Footsteps pounded away, fast and frantic. I called 911, and security arrived within minutes, but again, there were no key card scans. No video footage. No sign that anyone had ever been there. Security assured me they would increase monitoring. They even put surveillance cameras in my hallway, and I got a deadbolt lock installed on my door. It helped a little. But whoever had tried to enter my room had done so without detection. They had known my room. And they had come more than once. Winter break became a blur of paranoia. I barely slept, my body constantly on edge, every creak and groan of the old building setting my nerves ablaze. Even after my roommate returned and the dorm filled with life again, I couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability. My door, once just wood and metal, now felt paper thin. And I couldn't stop wondering, had they been watching me before I ever noticed?